I'm good. How are you?
I am amazing. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we have Bree Armstrong. She is the founder of Shades of Uniqueness. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, co-founder. I like to think that Alaz was the founder. I'm just the co-founder, right?
Okay. Her organization is an emerging nonprofit initiative. And I'm just going to let her introduce herself, tell us about herself, and go from there.
All right. Well, first off, thank you so much for this opportunity. So I started out as a pre-law major, and then I was guided to cultural anthropology. From cultural anthropology, it kind of led me into the refugee and immigrant sector of certain communities, which I believe kind of opened the door to this inclusive, neurologically unique community. I was able to observe that kind of in that immigrant and refugee setting, and then it actually hit my life, right? It opened up into lived experiences with family members, with myself, with the community. And that's kind of what led me on this journey to even co-found Shades of Uniqueness.
Okay, and what does Shades of Uniqueness do? What is the purpose of it?
Absolutely. So neurologically diverse communities are often missing the practical tools that's needed for the awareness, right? There is constant awareness that we have these unique children with autism, these unique children with attention, ADHD, the unique children with other more high intense, neurologically uniquenesses. And so we want the action that's needed for the awareness, right? When you go back to thinking about the noise, there's a lot of different noise that is surrounding this beautiful community, while the missing concept of action that's in place is missing. The digital quick prints for educators, for coaches, for parents to use, that's based off of our own lived experiences that are working, right? Moving away from those institutionalized textbook literature, right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s, and being more practical for the person. We decided to look at our own experiences and decided to pair them with the similarities. Some of the backlash that we got when we were like, hey, you guys need to have something readily available for this beautiful community, just equivalent to those who are physically unique, and to be in place for those with cognitive uniquenesses. And so we're like, okay, wait a minute. Are we just going to talk about it, or are we going to be about it?
Right.
We wanted to create the necessary tools, and that's what we're doing, inshallah.
So when you're talking about, let's talk about why. Was there something, what really sparked that? Okay, let's not just talk about it, let's be about it. What was that spark that said, let's take action?
Well, there's many. But I'll give one I believe that might be able to touch us as mothers, right? And not just mothers, but I'm just using it as an example because we're the nurturers. My son was being suspended from school, starting from kindergarten all the way up to 2nd grade. And I'm like, oh no, what are you doing? It's tagging his record. And I'm like, wait a minute, what the heck is going on? You mean to tell me that middle schoolers and high schoolers can have in-school suspension, and they're supposed to be able to control their what is being labeled as behavioral issues that we can only deal with by suspending him? And I'm like, one moment. he's supposed to get more of an advantage with the opportunity to be able to have those chances to reset himself. And I mean, he was being suspended so much. Every single day I was getting a phone call. Every single day. And I'm like, you guys don't have nothing in place to deal with this. We've already presented you with documentation of his 2 diagnoses. But it is, I think the turning point was knowing that something had to be done outside of what the handbook was saying that could be the change, because the handbook wasn't doing it. You suspending my 5-year-old, my that wasn't doing it for me as a mom, nor was it applicable to the situation. There is what is called 504 in IEPs, and some people may be familiar with it. What I realized is that children who have these physical disabilities are automatically given certain accommodations in school, while children who have cognitive uniquenesses have to go through a 14 to 16 week data analysis in order for you to even be able to what they call qualify for accommodations. So they start you out at MTSS, which is a whole nother program. Let me just skip that program. And then we go to 504s, and then you have to fight for an IEP. And that's what happened. I was fighting for my son to have a different outcome outside of the policies. I was looking at refugees and immigrants and the way that they were being treated in the school. I mean, you have boys that are screaming at the top of their lungs every time they go or about to go into the school. And I'm like, he's oversensitive. He's overstimulated. Why don't you guys notice that? He's overstimulated. There's something that is preventing him from even wanting to step inside of the school. So I think all of the suspensions, the policies in place for elementary students, and seeing real live emotion from the refugee and immigrant community is pretty much what sparked this all.
That's very, very interesting. So when you confronted the school, did they receive you openly? Was there pushback? Tell me about that.
Wow. You're met with, so schools are supposed to follow policies and procedures that are outlined in what they call the district handbook. And when you're first trying to present, like, hey, what are some alternatives? Here's what happened. My son was actually deemed what they call a scholar at the first school. And the principal said, well, he's a scholar, so he doesn't qualify for an IEP with his diagnoses. I'm like, hold on one moment. Fact check. Let's, trust but verify. And the pushback was, he needs therapy. You got to fill out all these forms, get these approvals, go through this process. Once you go through this process, you then have to go get the support from medical facilities to bring that documentation in to validate your claim that your son has protected diagnoses that are supposed to get accommodations. Well, those accommodations aren't just given once you hand in the diagnoses. It's still put under the bracket of 14 to 16 week data collection. I'm like, well, what's the point of me going to go get the diagnoses if they're protected diagnoses? And I think it boils down to, once again, what we're trying to do at Shades of Uniqueness. We got to drown all that noise, because that 14, 16 weeks is nothing but noise. Right. It is true noise. And it's like one of the little buzzers at the football field. That's what it was for me. It didn't help. Because after we gave them what they needed, I still got pushback from the administrators. Oh, your son is just bad. That was the label. Or your son just needs a whooping. I had a principal tell my son that he was going to call me to get permission to allow him to give him a whooping. Yes. He said, oh, he just needs a whooping, or oh, he's just acting out. Excuse me. You don't have a medical degree. You aren't authorized to give my son that information, and I wish you would touch my son, right? Excuse me. I'm just saying, like, I am like, you don't want to do that. Don't take it. If you're telling me that after all of this, asking for more data research, you are actually inhibiting my son's growth in school. And that's what I started to see. He started to decline socially. He started to decline academically because the support that I was fighting for was being denied. It took us 2 years to get him an IEP. Which is what they call an individual education plan. Because I noticed certain things. I'm like, what you guys are telling me isn't matching up. And I've already given you proof that there is something cognitively unique about my son where he needs extra support. So my experience was that we were met with this drawn out process to give them more data.
So in saying that, how did that make you feel?
Whew. I had to pray not to lose my crown, because for me, my job is my crown. And when my son was like, Mom, my principal said he was going to call you and tell you or ask you if he could take his belt off and whoop me. I'm like, he said, what? Like one moment, don't get it twisted. I am still human. I still experience emotions that are heightened when it comes to my children. And for you to threaten my son, because that's exactly what you did, that you would rather him get physically reprimanded rather than us revisiting what led up to this escalation of emotion from this child. I mean, I was constantly going back and forth, questioning myself, questioning whether or not this was the right school for him, questioning, am I just about to give up this whole fighting for the IEP at this school and just go somewhere else? There is a ton of emotions that I feel when it comes to hearing these types of things. And it boils down to what we're trying to do with shades of uniqueness. I think some teachers, they genuinely want to help, but they go about it in a old school type Aunt your mama way, like, hey, didn't I tell you to sit down? Okay, go get you a switch type thing. Well, guess what? We're no longer in that era, right? We are in an era where our children are constantly overstimulated. They need emotional digression. They need to be taught these tools along with the people that they are constantly in contact with. That narrative, oh, kids learn what they learn at home. Well, guess what? It goes beyond the home. The trauma, the drama, the negative emotions, I see that even in the school systems with the way that the educators are speaking to these children. I see that even how certain after school programs or certain youth programs are in the community, but they lack the love languages to communicate to the children. And so all of these emotions that I'm experiencing at school for my child, or with my child at school, with my child in youth organizations, with my child in the community, with my child at after school programs, they are exhausting. And so it's okay. Well, are you going to continue to be exhausting, or are you going to do something about it? And Shades of Uniqueness, we are trying to do something about it. We have the awareness. Now the community needs the action. And that is what we are trying to provide, the action that can be taken in school, the action that can be taken in your homes, the action that can be taken while you're walking to the bus stop, about to go to the art museum, that's going to be overstimulating for the child. They need real life experiences, but we are trying to give the parents, the educators, the community, the coaches, the after school programs, the tools to implement in real time. And I think that goes back to a lot of people think that some of the pushback with it from the school that we receive was that, oh, well, there's so many different uniquenesses, cognitive uniquenesses. We can't accommodate all of them. You know what? We're not going to say we can't. Okay. I can't, I realize how important not to say we can't. Let's say, okay, we need to bring in psychologists. We need to bring in parents. We need to bring in people. And even with that, there was pushback. Okay, you know what? Scratch it. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what the common denominator that I've seen. And this is what we're working with. Every child, regardless if they have limitations with this, identifies with a sense, whether it's sight, whether it's touch, whether it's hearing, whether it's taste, whether it's sight. Did I mention all five? Sight, hearing, taste. Oh, give me one moment. Sometimes my memory is touch, right? Sight, hearing, taste, and smell. We also include a sixth sense, right? Which is movement, because we've learned that each child can be impacted to deregulate or self-regulate with one of those six. And we've also learned that they could have had a negative moment where one of those six impacted them, and it actually causes that overstimulation. So through lived experiences, through trial and error, even with my own child, I'm like, oh shoot, wait a minute. We can center these trainings, we can center these digital tools around sensory, and then start to implement them in restaurants, in the schools, in parent kitchens, in youth activity. It was about, okay, what's the common denominator? Well, you regulate with the sense. I regulate with the sense. Some of those senses may have been violated. It's about identifying, it's about observing, and it's about stepping back and saying what's working, what's not working. They need the tools. We're trying to provide them those tools.
Okay. So we're going to back up just a little bit and we're going to talk about the IEP. So, what is a solution for the school system as you see it to change the IEP or change the way it's interpreted or presented, and also presented in the classroom?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked that question. That was one of the main reasons why we created our first digital toolkit, or excuse me, our first digital guide is what I like to say it. So first off, for those who don't know, an IEP again is an individual education plan, which is put together by a roundtable of special education specialists, the lead special education within the school, the case manager, the core teachers, the parents, and sometimes psychologists. They come together, and in a short answer, we develop things that are supposed to help, accommodations, tools that are supposed to help the child inside the classroom and throughout the school. Well, the drawback of that is that for mine, there was 22 pages of data, 22 pages.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, in a crisis, they're not going to go through a whole 22 pages. And so what Shades of Uniqueness did was we took the information from the IEP along with data that we fed our system. about the child, about their environment. And we said, hey, we have to be in compliant by using the items of the IEP, and we need to condense this. They may not be able to hit 22 pages worth of data in a crisis, but we can provide a quick guide, and that's what we created, a quick guide to help that. And that's kind of what this is. This is one of them. And of course, we'll get you that link to the Gumroads that can kind of show you the generic IEP quick guide. But we created these guides. And these guides are actually based off of the child's IEP. And it says, hey, if you are in a crisis or if the child is in an emotional state, go to the emotional section, especially if they have a behavioral intervention plan. There are going to be things that address the emotion, the behavior, things that addresses the teaching techniques that need to be implemented for that child. We threw in what we called the data that supports the type of diagnoses. Now, of course, there are different cognitive uniquenesses that require a little bit more outside resources to help create these quick sheets, but that is through observational psychology. That's through working with their therapists, their parents, the child themselves. But ultimately, when I saw 22 pages, I became overwhelmed as a mother. You know how many times I read the 22 pages? It took me about a week to go through it. And then that was after I went through it already 2 or 3 more times. And I'm like, whoa, this is a lot. So how do I get a teacher to even want to read this when my child is going through an emotionally peaked moment? And it sparked us to create these quick references like, hey, if you do these, if you do them and you do them consistently, because that's the thing, it has to be consistent. You have to the 4 P's, patience, practical tools and practice. So excuse me, let me say that again. The 4 P's I like to say, I wrote it down, sorry, because I can forget them. Practice, presence, practical tool, and patience. I used to pray for rows of patience, 7 on top of 7 on top of 7 rows of patience. I was like, Lord, I only need patience right now. And I didn't realize why I needed patience. But the patience wasn't just for my child. It was for the teachers. It was for myself. It was for the community, because this is not this quick reference isn't a quick answer, it's a quick reference. It's not a quick answer.
Right.
And I know this it seems contradicting, but it's a quick reference so that you can try to utilize those techniques to help deregulate the overstimulation. But don't think that it's a quick answer in the sense that you don't have to be consistent with it. Mm-hmm. Consistency is what our children in this community need, paired with patience, because it's easier to overlook these children because they're being labeled. People don't have the patience to, or I wouldn't say don't have the patience, but I think there is this super cape that we need that says, I'm the patience superhero, and I'm here to help this child. So I think all of those things, from the pushback from the school, from going through that long process of trying to get, because I couldn't just get an IEP. That's what the frustrating part about this was. You had to go to the MTSS, to the 504, then to the IEP. It wasn't a quick process. And then even when we got IEP, 22 pages, if you got 10 kids and they all got 22 pages worth of stuff that a teacher is supposed to read, and out of those 10, your class has 3, oh my goodness, how do you expect them to be able to actually implement that? In a real live way or setting, especially when you got two of your kids that's going through a crisis at the same time. So that's
Mhm.
you wanted action with this awareness.
So, are these sheets physical sheets, or will there eventually be a digital version where they can just quickly pull it up on their computer, their phone, in the classroom? How? What is your vision for that?
Actually, both, because as we have recently, and this isn't new, I think there should be some sort of a physical uh, book that's kept in a locked area, maybe in the lead special education room, that anybody can go in there and get it. Of course, digital is definitely something that we want to make available, but I say both because if you have all of this information stored on your digital platform and then you are unable to access that platform when you need it, then you still, that's not an excuse for you not to follow the IEP. That means you should have something physically readily available that can be that support for you. So right now on Gumroad, we have some items up there. Now, again, this is a generic IEP quick reference, something that, hey, if they don't want, and again, I'm for what is going to bring the action. We want to be the resource that you come to so that we can create these individualized IEP 504 driven quick guides. But if you say, hey, I would rather try to do this myself, we already have the digital quick guide reference cheat sheet for implementing the IEP. So the goal is to create both the digital platform that houses all of these quick references, including trauma training, trauma-based training, including sensory-based training, including love language training, along with the scholastic quick references. But I also, again, emphasize having a physical copy yourself that they can refer to, just in cases of emergency. That's our goal.
Okay, that's really interesting, and it seems like the direction that the world is going, we are running into this more and more and more often. So I think that your business would just have a lot of people who would want to reach out to you for your help. I think you're going to be
Inshallah.
very, very important. One thing that I
Well,
did want
that's
to
the
ask
goal,
you,
right?
yes, that is the goal always. One of
Let us
the things
take
that
that away from you.
what'd you say?
I said, let us take that away from you. Let us take, because it's
Oh,
something that I love to do. It's not like I have to be forced to want to do this. Like, I want to create these tools. Excuse me, I'm speaking me, but we want to create the tools. We want you to be able to know how to communicate with your child. And I know it's a, what do you mean? You're going to teach me more? Sometimes it takes an outsider
yeah,
looking in
sure.
to be able to see the bridges that need to help mend these responses to the nervous system, because that's what it is. You want to connect to the child. we
Yeah.
we are wanting to be the connection to the child, that before you correct the child. And it's something that comes easy to it's something that comes easy because I live this every single day.
Mhm.
I'm living what I'm telling you every single day. And there are days when I'm successful, and there are days when I'm like, okay, let me go back to the drawing board. I
All right.
see that this worked over this didn't work. Okay, let me update this digital print. Let me communicate this. We want to be that bridge because it's a response to the nervous system. That's what it boils down to, is the child is responding, whether positively or in a way that is less appealing to the adults or the
Mhm.
organization, as a response. Their nervous system is
Right.
responding and like, help me, you're not listening, and they don't know what to say. So we at Shades of Uniqueness want to give you the tools and training to look for those things that they're trying to say that they're unable to say. Their body, their senses, their responses are a form of communication, and we want to be able to help. There are far more people in this community that could potentially benefit from these services than we think. And I think we have to pull back those curtains that we often put up because of the stigmatism, because of the, hey, you know what? I don't. I'm too embarrassed. You know what? Listen. Let me say this. When my child has an outburst in the community, I'm like, and people are looking at me. I'm like, don't say nothing. Remain silent. Say what is good. Remain silent. You don't know our situation.
Right.
You don't know why I'm utilizing patience. You don't know why he may have he may have raised his voice in responding, but you are he's come. You don't know that the story, the history, the healing that is being done even while we're in the community. We as Uniqueness want to be that bridge so that those curtains can be pulled back. The more we expose the schools, the more we expose educators, the more we expose youth organizations after school in the community to how these children are responding, then maybe the more other people can start to connect to them that could help develop in a positive way.
Well, and that will take us then to creating the inclusiveness. I know that we spoke before the podcast about the cruise line that created an inclusive space for children that need that moment away. So take the floor on that. Tell us all about that.
So here's a side story. I was actually trying, and I say trying because we can try and fail, but the lesson was in the trying. So I was trying to work for a cruise line via like a virtual call center. And during the training, we learned about a cruise line that actually got sued because they needed that inclusive environment. And I'm like, ding, 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 ding. Wait one moment. This multi-million-dollar operation got sued, and they learned from it. And they said, hey, we are going to create an inclusive space. Well, see, Shades of Uniqueness is all about making sure we try to eliminate the you've been served, come to court, you're being sued, right? We are trying to go ahead and say, let's not wait to make your space inclusive. Here's what you can do, and it doesn't cost that much. People, I think we're in a situation right now, and who's to know in the future of drained resources. But guess what? Inclusivity doesn't have to cost much. It requires you to reach and partner with organizations that's been doing inclusivity with little money as possible, right? And that's what we are trying to create. These spaces that restaurants can already have in on hand. These spaces, these tools that schools can already have in hand, that youth organizations, that we as parents can have at home, right? The training is so that it can be implemented wherever you go. So that's what brought about Shades of Uniqueness trying to create what we call our calm down hip packs, right? We are trying to get support to have these hip packs, these sensory hip packs, a part of the uniform for schools, for the administrators of schools, for the administrators of youth organizations, for the administrators of after school programs, because guess what? It means that you guys are being prepared. You're being proactive to be prepared to respond. And these kits are designed, centered once again around sensory adaptation, sensory technique or senses that can, let me go back. The kits are designed to hit those six senses that we talked about, and the sixth sense being movement, because sometimes just having the child move could be the difference if that child relates to it. So the hip packs that we're trying to implement is to have something in there that is related to sight, that's related to sound, that's related to touch, that's related to hearing, that's related to smell. So it's kind of like those hip packs that you have as a lifeguard that everybody has to wear that's in that department to respond to an emergency. So we are trying to implement, and we are trying to enforce these calm down hip packs so that they have the tools. Once again, you have a digital tool and then you have a physical tool, and they don't cost much. We're not selling stress balls. That's not what we're doing. We are trying to create the bridges to help calm the nervous systems of these children so that we can hopefully, the goal is to prevent them from going into permanent institutions that removes them from the communities, if you get my drift.
Right.
Especially our community. I keep thinking, like, Lord, how many princesses, queens and kings have we already lost to permanent institutions because there was a need for them to learn how to deregulate their negative emotions. And for those people that they were constantly around to have the tools to help them identify when they need to emotionally decompose or decompress. We as adults need help. They're more vulnerable than we are.
Right.
And they're at a stage where we want to make sure that they have these tools, hip packs, the training, the digital tools, when they're under the age of accountability. Because once they reach the age of accountability, now you got the law chasing after them. That's not what we about. That's not what we about, right? That's the other part. That's not what we're trying to lead up to. We are trying to be that village, remember? It takes a village. This is the village we're trying to create. The educators, the district, the youth organizations. We are trying to be that village that is prepared. Preparation is what's key. And that's what we're trying to create at Shades of Uniqueness. The hip pack is the calm down packs. The hip packs is what I'm trying to say. The digital tools, they are the preparation that's needed, inshallah.
What is in the hip pack?
Yeah, so we have so we'll have our standard packs, right? Our standard kits are going to be consistent across the board, and again, because we need them to be cost efficient. So we can customize them and it still be cost efficient, but I'm just going to kind of read what our standard hip pack has. We have, of course, mini stress balls because some kids can relate to that. We also have what you would call resistant bands. And that's for that movement, because sometimes we just need to pull something apart, but do it in a safe way. Another one would be some of the liquid motion timers. Sometimes that visual reset kind of clicks something in the mind that says, okay, I need to try to push my negative emotion back down to a state of communication where I can actually communicate what bothered me, what I can actually communicate, whatever emotion that caused them to be overstimulated in a negative way. And the audible part of that is kind of some of these soft click fidgets for redirection. I saw, side note, there was a Netflix series about a genie. It was like an Asian version, right? Now, everything in there I don't relate to, but there was a little girl who was considered a psychopath. And the grandmother would not allow anyone to treat her other than the young, sweet girl that she was. And she used exactly what we're doing. She had the child relate to pain. She had the child relate to certain senses, certain emotions, and the child actually deregulated with a watch that belonged to her mother that made that clicking sound. So
Oh,
that
okay.
is something that we also want to, yeah, that's something that we also want to include. Of course, we have the senses. So there are certain senses, scientifically backed, that can actually help calm down those neurons that are pew 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 inside these little unique minds when they are overstimulated, or when they are when cognitively responding in a way that could compromise themselves, their safety, the safety of themselves and the safety of others. And then oral, right? This is something I live by. I have noticed that this particular sense, providing something in those kits that can orally stimulate the child in a positive way, whether it's chocolate, whether it's Jolly Ranchers, something. My son actually, when he is overstimulated and he is responding in a less preferred way, I cannot talk to him right away. I have to give him something that is going to orally stimulate him. And while he is actually orally stimulated in a positive way, while he's actually eating that oral supplement, he's actually cognitively calming down. And then he comes back over to me and he says, it wasn't right for me to yell at you when you were just trying to help me. It
Mm,
wasn't right for me, excuse me. It was he's saying it's about himself. It wasn't
right.
right for me to um, walk away from you when you were just trying to reset me. He's cognitively being aware of how he responded. And now I can talk to him. Now I can point that out. So putting these five, or excuse me, these six senses in these kits is what we're trying to create. That's what would be in kind of the regulatory basic kits. Now, some of the other kits which I recommend is I want to pair it with another training called Calm Minds, Creative Hands, which is an initiative to create a sensory activity for parents, for teachers, for the child, and we pair that activity with these sensory items as well to create these personalized kits. So that one is a little bit more, it's kind of like the next step up to creating the hip packs, because the senses that are involved, the materials that are involved, they have a slight elevation in cost, but they are effective. My son uses them. As an adult, I need regulation. I use them. So we have our standard hip packs. And then we have customized hip packs. And anytime you customize anything,
Right.
we want to ensure the quality is there, but that it's paired with effective training. Because what is it to present items if you're not pairing it with training? Um,
Right.
Training is important, because it's saying for us, we're looking at the policies, we're looking at the paperwork, and we're looking at how we can make it more practical.
Right.
And a lot of times it boils down to training. There has to be outside training that comes in to the setting, paired with innovative tools, innovative, tangible items that can really, really benefit the community and the child's overall success.
That's really great. And speaking of the training, then, are your classes up and running? And if so, are they online? Are they in person? Or when will they come? When will they start if they're not already happening?
Yeah, so right now, we are still kind of in that observe, offer choices, step back and reflect stage, where we have the digital quick guides available, of course. And the training that we would provide is currently coming after some other, how can I say, our focus right now is on creating the quick references, and getting sponsorship so that we can maintain our platforms, our digital platforms. The training is currently just in digital form. We are looking to partner, actually. That's what I should have said. We're currently trying to partner with school systems, trying to partner with youth organizations, youth sports organizations, trying to partner with after school organizations, which, inshallah, we were very fortunate to potentially get a partnership on the table with a very, very prominent youth organization. And those are our focus. The training is here. We have the tools. We just need the organizations that wants the training, right? We can offer you these quick references. We can offer you these tools, but, practically, do you want the training? Right? That's what we're trying to do. We have the training. We have the resources to train you. Do you want it? Do you want to partner with us? Hey, please come on, partner with us. We have it, but it's going to boil down to the choices of the community, the schools, the organizations. Again, we're in the business of trying to avoid lawsuits, and I cannot tell you how many places I've been that are currently in violation of not having inclusive environments readily available for people. It goes beyond the children. Our focus, of course, is children, but we're not limiting ourselves to children. That's our lived experiences. So just to circle back, we have the resources, we have the training. Do you want to utilize us? Do you want to partner with us? We want you to partner with us. Reality is, partnering with us does mean that people are stepping away from their jobs, people are stepping away from their lives, and ultimately we're in our infancy stage. So we're going to need that financial support to even try to move this mission forward. We are cost efficient. Let me say that. Materials cost efficient, training cost efficient, but the reality that we face is we gotta have that support, right? We are inquiring expenses, and we need support. We need that support, right? There's noise even with trying to start a nonprofit. Not I'm not trying to highlight the negatives, but wow, I did not know all the stuff that goes into a nonprofit, right? Mm-hmm. And we need to partner with networks. We need to partner with other nonprofits that we can kind of learn from in order to get the funding needed to potentially push the training out as a nonprofit, because that's what we want. We want to be able to offer these services completely 100% free, right? But we are still we're babies. We still need the cradle of a mother. So I hope that, kind of answer it. Yeah. Gumroad is a really, really good resource for us right now, because as we create the digital quick sheets, we are trying to put them up there, but there are some digital quick sheets, like the tailored IEP quick reference sheet, that we can't put up there because it's contingent on the data that we use, the IEP of the student. So those quick references that are tailored, again, we can tailor it to an organization. You allow us to come into your organization. We take a look at your environment. We take a look at your leadership structure, your existing team structure, and we can actually tailor those inclusive spaces, those inclusive quick reference sheets to the organization. But those, again, there's tailored quick sheets and tailored training, and then there are kind of the generic training, generic quick sheets that we are pushing out to Gumroad in order to give that to the community. And again, when we were thinking about it, like, I'd rather ask for the donations for you to have access to the quick sheets than to just set a price. At first, I was like, okay, well, let's set a low ball price of, anywhere between $5 to $10. And then I'm like, no, like, hey, pay what you think, what you can, because everybody's financial situation is different. Pay what
Right.
you can, and then as we kind of get up there and we can start to get the financial support, then let's kind of have a standard price so that we know that's a bank that we have to create more activities, to create more training, and we can pay our administration to kind of do that. So it's kind of both. We have digital training guides. We have the opportunities to go into a more formal setting, but it's freelancer for hire.
Right. What about parents though? Like those individual parents, they do what they do, right? To
Mhm.
their each individual's child. They feel like they figured out a system for them. But I think anyone can gain value or insight how to maybe tweak things or do something a little better or do things that they haven't thought about before. Can individual parents reach out to you uh, for training or for pointers?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a parent, right? This whole thing got started because of my experiences. The more testimonies, the more connections that we have with other parents, I'm hoping that we can then use that to create more tools to expand the need to a legislation level to say, hey, we have a dire need for this support to be mandated. I want parents to reach out to me. We there was a I've kind of actually, subhanallah, not me, please, please, please. It's never me. You never know why you're in a place. But three parents so far. I heard one parent, she expressed some discomfort that she was having or some areas of support that she needed within the school. And I was like, okay, you give me permission to act on your behalf? She was like, yeah. I said, okay, pew, we ran with it. There's only so much I can do uh, um, as an advocate. But when she gave us the opportunity, we ran with it. And what we were able to accomplish for that parent, hopefully it got the attentions of the administrators, that's for sure. And then another young lady, she connected with me just briefly, and she was like, I'm having to do all this other stuff because they lost the documentation for my child.
Um,
Another young lady, she pointed out how she felt X, Y, and Z was needed for her child, and she reached out and said, "I need your help in order to get this set up." So I said, "Okay, cool." I reached out directly to the director of the parents and policy department for special education, and I said, hey, I'm acting on behalf of this young lady. She needs to get her child evaluated. She gave me permission to speak to you. Now, again, I can only give you so much, they can only give me so much control without, of course, the more formalities. But three parents so far we've connected with, and I'm so grateful for their experiences because they were three separate uniquenesses that are the mosaics to this community. And so I'm hoping more parents can reach out and say, hey, here's the trauma I have in school, or here's the trauma my child has experienced. What are some recommendations? Because I'm going to keep it basic. I'm going to go like, okay, I'm going to ask you questions like, hey, can I spend some time with you and your parent? Excuse me, some time with you and your parent. Some time with your and the child. I want to spend time observing because observation is key for all of this. And I want parents to feel comfortable, okay? Please, 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 if you need that extra support, and this is a non-judgmental zone. I just told y'all how there were several times I was about to pull up on the school in my hijab. And I had to say, oh, shoot, I am in my hijab, right? And I'm like, this is your crown. Remember, this is your crown. It represents a whole lot more than your emotions. And I was ready to pull up for that child screaming on the floor that I didn't even know. I'm like, oh my gosh, if y'all don't leave this boy alone, he's overstimulating. Like, come on, get him some headphones, get him something. You guys don't see this? I'm ready to be the pull-up, okay? The pull-up hijabi for you, but not in an aggressive way, okay? I'm still aware of my role, but I'm like, let me pull up for you. Okay, my pull-up game is strong. I want to be there support. I'm sorry, what you say? Listen, I will pull up on a bike. I will pull up on a bus. Okay.
Right.
I hope someone can relate to this. If we can get one person to relate, one organization, one restaurant, one child, one mother, one parent, one father, one uncle, one guardian, one whoever that can say, hey, oh shoot, let me take a different approach. You know how many approaches I had to come outside of what the school told me I should be doing. Right. I had to come outside what the institutions told me I should be doing. And that's what Shades of Uniqueness is. You have so many different shades of neurologically unique children that not everything is going to work for them. That's where that patience come into play. That's right. Where that observation comes into play. And I hope my lived experiences can really touch a parent and say, hey, can you talk to me? Can you come with us to the park? Can you help advocate for my child's needs in school? Because I'm fed up. I don't want to deal with them anymore. That's my favorite part. Like, ooh, advocacy in the school, right? Like, ooh, yes, let's go, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hope that's inshallah, like that. God willing, I hope parents will want to reach out. I mean, don't just relate to me because I'm in hijab, right? Don't just look at me because I'm in hijab. And look at me as I am a fighter. No, hold on. Let me rephrase that. I will fight for your child as if they were my child.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of, I kid you not, if you ask me for help and God willing, Allah allows us to connect, they're my child too. Now I know I will be limited in what I can do, but as far as your advocacy, as far as trying to give you the resources that were made available to me, they're my child too. They're going to be my child until you say, you know what, give me my baby back.
I absolutely love that. I love that you are that committed to the process. And that would take me to my next question. I know a lot of people in the community, like you say, if you're out at a restaurant or you're at Walmart or any place like that, what direction or advice can you give a parent to give to their child, or someone like me that's walking through a store or eating out? What advice can you give to them to help understand what that child's going through and how to react to it to help calm the situation? When I was being raised and growing up, if you saw anything of the not ordinary, you are to ignore it. You are to look the other way. But I don't feel like that's necessarily the answer, because then they become invisible, which cannot help the situation, right? How do
Yeah.
we as a community respond to situations that are not savory in the common person's eyes?
That is a beautiful question, first off. I think so. So there's two parts to that. I want to address the parent and address the onlookers. For the parents, if you even think that your child is neurologically unique, preparation, right? Going back to those five senses, you may not know immediately how sensitive or over stimulating certain environments can be for children. Preparation looks like, okay, I'm starting to notice some patterns. I'm not quite sure how they're going to react in this environment. Headphones, some sort of item that they can touch, some sort of smell, some sort of taste, some sort of sight related item with you at all times. That's, and again, we can talk about that and kind of tailor that for them, but there are a lot of environments that are actually audibly over, and these are two of the common overstimulating stimuli that I've noticed is things are either too loud or they're too bright. Our children are still developing. And when things are too loud or too bright, they respond. Their bodies can actually start to tremor and you not even know it. And you're asking them a question. They're not listening. You're thinking they're not listening, but they're trying to filter out all the noise so that they can hear the knowing. And so
Right.
for parents, preparation, if you think or if you're unsure, have something with you. And I honestly would start with sunglasses and headphones. Sunglasses and headphones. And then from there, start to observe the child in certain environments. My child cannot go into a Walmart. That is so overstimulating. I mean, one time there was such a huge blur out that and this is facts, I had to walk away from my child. No, let me rephrase that. I knew that he was going to follow me because again, I've been training my child for years. Allah has been allowing me to, but he was so overstimulated, he wouldn't listen. He kind of like completely shut down. I had to physically start walking away because I forgot to be prepared. I forgot to bring his headphones. I forgot glasses. This was at a time where I was still observing him and realized at minimum when he goes into big stores, he needs those audible regulations. And then over time, through observation, I started to notice other ways to get him to emotionally digress in a positive way. So for parents, because you never know which environment until you learn, right? For me, big stores, my son can't go into big stores. He can go into very calm, low lighting stores and be just fine. The big stores, he can't. Identifying what for your parents, I'm still in parents, identifying which stores or environments are overstimulating and being prepared. And then for the onlookers, let me go back to the parents. Parents, stay calm. It's so much harder to say because you're like, you have to connect to the child, but if the child sees that you are not calm, how do you expect them to be calm?
Right.
I mean, trial and error tells me I get through to my son way quicker when I'm calm and I'm and I'm silently expressing my discomfort with certain cues. And so the parent has to stay calm. The parent has to be prepared. For the onlookers, encouraging the parent. You are unaware of how to respond to that child. but with certain training, right? Because everybody's training is going to be different. I can only give you the training that has worked in the capacity of my lived experiences, and it is working. Oh my gosh. From kindergarten all the way to third grade, let me tell you, there are days we're successful, but we unsuccessful. We've had far more successful days with just applying these simple, cost-efficient techniques. But the training, if more onlookers gets the sensibility training, then maybe you can encourage the mother or connect to the mother or the parent or whoever the guardian is, so that they can be encouraged themselves to connect to the child. So the training looks like, hey, mom, maybe you have your kit with you, right? Maybe you have your calm down kit with you, and you're like, okay, mom doesn't have anything. Hey, mom, why don't you try these headphones? Hey, mom, why don't you try this sense? Hey, mom, why don't you try a piece of chocolate with them if they can eat chocolate? Or you want like candy. I know people, nutritionists are like, what do you mean candy? What do you mean candy? But listen, okay.
Candy creates miracles.
Something that can last longer than a month, right? You don't want to put fruit in your pack. It's going to get stale.
Right.
But in an emergency setting, if you need candy, go get that candy and then brush your teeth afterwards, right?
Right.
But the onlookers being prepared, being trained, it's about training. And the onlookers encouraging the mom to continue to move forward.
How does an onlooker know the difference between a child with these challenges versus a child who is just a regular kid out of control, just wants what they want?
Okay. Can we pause for one moment? I don't have an answer for that. So honestly, there's not enough time to observe someone that closely in a store to know, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know from lived experience that this is what our situation looks like. There are times where we're in the store and he may ask for something, and I will either offer up an alternative, or I will have to say, we came in here specifically for this item. And sometimes he responds positively, sometimes he doesn't, but goes back to his diagnoses, that impulsivity. I don't have an answer for how can you differentiate, right? I think the techniques should be the same. The approach should be the same, because if you're unsure, then how beneficial could the training be regardless, right? Because in that moment, the child is responding, is communicating to the parent that you told me no, and I can't get what I want, so I'm gonna have to. So it's still a form of communication. Our goal, and regardless, is not to kind of put anybody in a box, but rather say, hey, it's still an emotional deregulation. It's still a situation where we need to deregulate the child's emotions so that they can get up and leave the store, and the mom still has a face to pick up and hold up, going out the store. So I think the approach should be the same, regardless of, because again, at first I thought my child was one of those children. I'm like, what are you doing? Get up off the store.
Right.
And I'm like, no, wait, hold on. Let's just not focus on trying to group them. Let's focus on the approach, because the parent still needs to be comforted. The child still needs to get up off that floor, right? And the child still needs to know, you can't leave the store with this toy. So how do we approach it? I give you an example. A child that has a tactile stimuli, like that relates in a positive way with tactile, which is touch. If they're in a store and they want an item, You need to have something readily available that you can substitute to potentially help deregulate the emotion that that child might have by not getting that item. Now, sometimes the item are going to be for aesthetic or pleasure, right? That the
Mhm.
child just, oh, I got this new action figure. I want it. I want it. I want it. Well, we gotta be kind of prepared for this. They're children. They're constantly going to be wanting stuff, right? They're constantly asking for stuff. But the approach should be the same. Again, maybe their relatable a sensory item is not tactile. Maybe you can make them put down the toy that they really want if you give them a piece of chocolate to take their mind off of it and get them away from that aisle.
Right, right.
I mean, sometimes, and I know simple changes, a simple movement can lead to big changes. I stopped going to big stores that had toys in them. Not because, and a partially it had to do with, okay, I know my child is going to react. I know my child can be overstimulated by seeing all of these different items. So I tried to limit our visitation to certain stores where the focus is on what we need it to be focused on. You got to kind of narrow the exposure that the child is constantly in front of. And if you don't, be prepared, right? Be prepared to respond as a parent who is calm or an onlooker that is encouraging. Um, be prepared to have regulation tools to assist you. That is a lived experience that practically use every single day. Okay.
Right.
I'm using it every single day. And I'm learning how to tweak it a little bit, how not to tweak it a little bit. And at home, the same thing I expect at home, I'm expecting to transfer into the community, which is what we're doing. That's the hardest thing is when you're practicing these emotional regulations at home and then you try to do them in the community. That's where you get that. What is going on with him? Why isn't she saying anything? Why isn't she doing anything? It's one moment. All eyes, it can be, my focus is on my child. My focus is on what we need to do to make sure that they learn how to regulate their emotions in a positive way so that when they are at the age of accountability, we have tried our best to equip them with things that they can take with them, whether it's to college, whether it's overseas, whether it's, back to their room. We have constantly tried to provide them with those tools. And again, the approach is the same to those children, not to group them as, oh, you're just spoiled, or because again, we don't know, right? We may say they're spoiled, and deep down, we don't know that their nervous system is overstimulated because when he walked in, it was too loud or it was visually too much for them. We don't know that, and even that child may not be able to communicate that. And so they're like, okay, I found a toy. I can, I really like this toy. Mommy, can I get it? No, you can't get it. No, why? So
Right.
eliminate and let's address it and approach it the same way.
Okay. So when you're talking about the behaviors,
Mhm.
what diagnoses are we talking about? Is it one diagnosis? Is it just autism? Is it maybe ADD? What are you talking about? Tell me the umbrella that envelops what you're trying to help.
So, shades of uniqueness. Now, again, I am not discriminatory when I say this. Okay, no way, shapes, or need. But we are trying to really focus on the community, where it's anybody. Children, is where we want to start because if you
Mhm.
teach them at a young age, and hopefully as they grow up, it starts to impact them positively. Um, Anyone who has a cognitive uniqueness other than a physical uniqueness. Autism is a huge one, right? Autism is very, very, there's so many sub uniquenesses of autism, right? But autism is a big one. We're talking about children with ADHD or who've been labeled ADHD, children who've been labeled as behaviorally problematic, right? Anything dealing with the way that the child responds emotionally, responds, and it's physically responds physically, because sometimes they're going through so much they don't know how to express themselves except but to go and kick a tree or whatever that is. It is for that cognitive space, and I don't want to limit it. Like, I'm saying some of the main areas that I'm personally dealing with my son, but it is for anyone who says, you know what, I have this uniqueness. I'm not quite sure what it is. I know it's different, or someone says I have this uniqueness and I am not sure how to deal with it in real life. So anyone, there's a lot of support out there for the community where you have those physical uniquenesses. We're trying to create that lasting support for the autism community, the ADHD community, learning disability community, the dyslexic community, the OCD community. There's so many beautiful shades of cognitive uniquenesses that we want to service. So congratulations. And I'm so grateful for the amount of work that's gone into making sure that the physical accommodations are readily available in all of these different background areas, right? In the school, in churches, in courthouses, in restaurants and stuff. But let's not forget the mounting evidence that supports the millions of that says there is a whole nother side of that unique community, which is millions and millions, and I mean millions, okay, of shades of uniqueness in the cognitive realm. So it's often highlighted, you have your main cognitive uniquenesses, but we're not limiting our approaches to just those. We want to include everyone and make the spaces inclusive.
Okay. Very much understood. So, as a new nonprofit, how can the community help you? What exactly are you looking for? What do you need?
Oh, thank you. First off, we need prayers. We need prayers, okay? And I say that because prayer is power. Prayer changes things, period. And that's one. More on the non-religious spiritual side of it. We're looking for a partnership first and foremost. We are in our infancy, and we need the partnership of another nonprofit so that we have leaderships and mentors that can help us guide us through that funding noise, because there is some noise in funding. The funding noise and securing funding, and learning how a nonprofit even operates. Now, on the more cost efficient spectrum, we're looking for people we can connect with, network with. We're looking for people that can actually help us get our hip packs off the ground, supplying us with donations, or a wholesaler that can help us get the materials. We have a couple of wholesalers, but then we need that financial support to actually help us secure those items, because the goal is to not give certain organizations the option to want these hip packs. Is to present them and say, listen, I got a line of lawsuits that you guys could be facing, or we can go ahead and implement this now, right? That's the goal. Um, so those the materials for that. Now, again, on the administrative side as well, we utilize an immense cost efficient platforms that actually help us to produce our digital quick reference sheets, and those are monthly or annual costs, support with that. We are trying to tackle this with the most cost efficient way possible, where it can create sustainability for donors or for patrons who really say, hey, okay, I believe in this. Okay, how can I help? The Calm Minds Creative Hands activity, which we were hoping, again, we did partner with an after school program or organization, but there are, of course, formalities with trying to get that really implemented and started. But we started to think, hey, this is really impactful. This activity that can be done with the parents, with the teachers, with the students is so impactful that we want to offer that activity to whoever says, hey, I want to make sure that I'm aware of what this deregulation could look like for my team, for my church members, for my community, for my youth organization. So that's one of the activities that we are trying to pilot. And of course, there is a cost to getting that material. So these are the areas that we want to focus on. Getting a partnership, a mentorship under another nonprofit, getting our hip packs, our Calm Hip Packs off the ground by sponsoring the material that's needed for that. And then also our Calm Minds Creative Hands activity that we're trying to pilot for anyone. It's so impactful and so cost efficient that it wouldn't it that was the goal, was to make it inclusive, available, and implement. I know this might not be a word, implementable, right? We make up words. Make it make it so impactful that it can be implemented in a restaurant. It can be implemented in a corporate setting, in a school, after school programs, recreation, art centers, as well as senior centers too. So those are our areas of focus right now. So I again, it's I'm so grateful and honored to even be able to be a voice, to say I'm not embarrassed of the uniquenesses of my son. I'm not embarrassed of my own uniquenesses. I'm not, I don't want to be a part of the stigma or the problem. We want to be a part of what is going to transform the way people see this community, this
Right.
unique shade of humans. We forget we're humans.
Right, right. And in the reality of it all, we all deal with something and we all have our own quirks and our own ways, and no one is the same. No one's the same. And what a boring world it would be if we were, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We were made to connect to each other because of our uniquenesses. That's
Yeah,
what we've lost sight of. How do you grow if you're robotic every day, and you're not
exactly.
it's no
And you
fun.
never know what people are dealing with behind closed doors, or for that matter, in public. You don't really know what people are dealing with. Um, and who would have known? I met you on a train. It's this is your private life, and unless we would have started to talk about helping the community and letting people understand, we would have never connected on that level. So I'm really, really glad. You never know who you're going to run into.
Alhamdulillah. And what a
So
blessing it is.
yes, yes, yes. So as we start to close down, we've really gone from the noise to the knowing, and I just want you to recap the journey from the noise to the knowing, and then close out with any and all information that you really want people to know.
Okay. Wow. So This unique community has so many different levels of noise. You're not alone when it comes to dealing with it. You can partner with Shades of Uniqueness to help hopefully filter out the noise of the education system, of the community backlash, of your familiar backlash when you're trying to really gain structure and organization around your specific uniqueness, your child's uniqueness, or a uniqueness that is being presented to you or entrusted to you. You are going to hear people say do it this way. You're going to hear people say no. You're going to hear people say put them on medicine. That's noise. Let me be the first to tell you, pharmaceuticals may not like this, so okay. But I have not once put my child on medication, nor will I ever, because I know that there is a healthier way to address the noise that is often being highlighted for this community. It's going to take patience. It's going to take cooperative partnerships. It's going to take training. It's going to take a level of awareness, self-awareness, awareness and observation of the child, of yourself. It's going to take sensory advocacy to address these things. You're not alone. I didn't have a blueprint. I still don't have a blueprint. But I am very trusting in the one that's guiding me. And I know that we can filter and turn off that noise of the policies and tactical ways of approaching things to approach them in a more creative, holistic, and informed way. Shades of Uniqueness is just that. We are shades of the uniquenesses, cognitive uniquenesses that need to be seen, that need to be made aware of. And we want to expose people to that so that that awareness is matched with our actions. So this is a call to action to anyone looking at this to say, hey, I believe in this mission. I believe in this connection. I believe in these goals, and we can do this. We can be that change. And if you guys need, again, I'm open for consultations, I'm open for mentorships, I'm open for observations for you, your family. I'm open for advocacy. Shadesofuniqueness@gmail.com. Say, hey, I saw the podcast. Here's what I'm going through. Hey, I'm open for the pull-ups. Don't forget the pull-ups, okay? I'm open for being here for you. Allah was here for me. My son was here for me. But how much better would it be if we had organization, a nonprofit? Again, we're in our infancy, but I am proclaiming that a nonprofit that's really here for this change, this much needed change. So thank you so much, Laura. Thank you for inviting us to this. From noise to knowing, we are trying to cut off the noise of that stigma under this umbrella, this Shades of Uniqueness umbrella. There's a Netflix series called Under the Queen's Umbrella. Well, this is our umbrella.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So before I let you go, and I know you just gave your Gmail address, how would people contact you beyond that? Or is that the best way to contact you?
So right now, that is the best means of contact. I do have a cell phone and a Google number, but I'm still kind of trying. We're still trying to cipher through the best means of contact. We have an Instagram, The Facebook and the TikToks and all that. I'm still trying to learn that. So bear with me, please. But you can find us on Shades of Uniqueness is on Instagram and the Gmail. So right now that, and again, if someone contacts you, Laura, and says, "Hey, can I get her number?" No problem, but I want to be mindful and kind of filter out the noise. The noise
Exactly.
as well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Bree, for coming today, really having real and deep conversations with us. I hope that everybody has an expanded knowledge base on all of these beautiful children that we were speaking of today.
Absolutely.
And on the side note, the adults too, because children do turn into adults, right? If this podcast really helped you today, please like, please share, and please follow us. We really appreciate everything that you do for us. And if you have any suggestions on anything that you would like to hear about, just let me know because I'm here for you. This is Laura Wilford from Noise to Knowing, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.